If you still think comic conventions are some small niche gathering for a handful of hardcore nerds arguing about Star Wars versus Star Trek in some Holiday Inn ballroom, MegaCon Orlando would love to have a word with you. Because this thing is huge, and I mean absolutely massive. Giant crowds, packed convention halls, big-name celebrity guests, endless merch, elaborate costumes, hotels at capacity, traffic headaches, and enough energy to power the entire iDrive corridor for a week. And this is not just one fandom, it's all of them, stacked on top of each other and inside a convention center the size of a major airport. And that's what makes MegaCon interesting. Not just that it exists, not just that people love it, but it has grown so big and so mainstream that it now feels less like a convention for those of us into geek stuff and more like a giant mirror of modern pop culture itself. Because somewhere along the way, the kind of thing that used to get a person labeled a nerd, a geek, a dweeb, or whatever other insult a 1980s movie bully could come up with, became mainstream modern pop culture. And MegaCon might be the clearest sign of that. At the most basic level, MegaCon is a giant fan convention held at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando. Comics, sci-fi, fantasy, anime, gaming, cosplay, artists, vendors, celebrities, panels, merch, workshops, classes, scavenger hunts. It's all here. But what struck me wasn't just the huge list of things to see and do, it was the feeling of this place. The best comparison I can come up with is that MegaCon feels kind of like a music festival, where a huge part of the attraction is just the attendees themselves and the overall vibe of everything. You're not just here to follow a schedule, you're here to wander, meet people, watch people, discover weird stuff, and soak up the atmosphere. The event is the event, but the crowd is also the event. And the scale of this thing hits before you even fully get inside. Now, I made the mistake of not reserving parking ahead of time, which turned out to be a massive tactical error. I think the overflow lot we parked in was technically like in Daytona Beach or something. And honestly, figuring out where to park, the shuttle system, and navigating the sheer sprawl of the Orange County Convention Center felt less like a Saturday afternoon outing and more like I was suddenly competing in an episode of Jet Lag the Game. So even before I hit the floor, MegaCon was already telling me very clearly this was not some little gathering. The Orange County Convention Center is the exact opposite of the TARDIS. It looks gigantic on the outside, and then you walk through the doors and realize it's somehow even bigger on the inside. MegaCon's official site says this event draws roughly between 180 and 190,000 people over its 4 days. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the same population as the city of Fort Lauderdale. And once you see MegaCon in person, it becomes very hard to keep pretending this kind of thing is still some tiny subculture. Because it sure doesn't feel like some kind of counterculture event for Trekkies and Potterheads at all. That part didn't surprise me personally because I already kind of know what used to be called geek culture basically is mainstream culture now. But I think for anyone who still has an outdated image of comic conventions in their head, this place would probably blow that up pretty quickly. Star Wars is as mainstream as it gets. Marvel is mainstream. Harry Potter is mainstream. Anime is increasingly mainstream. Pokemon is literally the most valuable IP on Earth. Did you know that? The Pokemon franchise is now worth more than Mickey Mouse and Star Wars combined. The video games industry is now bigger than the movie industry. Stranger Things turned retro horror into mainstream family entertainment. So of course an event like MegaCon got huge. And it didn't get huge in spite of the culture, it got huge because the culture it celebrates took over. MegaCon doesn't feel like geek culture hiding from the world and doing their own thing here. It feels like fan culture realizing it already runs the world. But maybe the simplest way to put it is this. Cool is dead. Or at least the old version of cool is dead. The old version of cool was gatekeeping. It was about not being too sincere, not caring too much, not showing too much enthusiasm for the wrong things, not dressing too weird, not letting your freak flag fly, and keeping your guilty pleasures to yourself. MegaCon is the exact opposite of all of that. This is the place where people show up dressed like Spider-Man, Skeletor, Iron Man, Mandalorians, an actual alligator wearing Loki horns. Yeah, Gator Loki was there, and honestly, it wouldn't be an Orlando convention without some form of local reptilian representation. But what really stood out to me, everyone in costume seemed really happy to be seen. And that creates a vibe that's hard not to love. This is an event that isn't just about consuming pop culture, it's about participating in it. Honestly, some of the best entertainment at MegaCon is just looking around. There was a group of guys dressed as Masters of the Universe characters, including Skeletor, that had clearly put in a lot of effort into these things. There was a very convincing Iron Man that looked really close to almost movie quality. Macho Man Randy Savage was here. There was a guy simply dressed as George Lucas, which I loved. And maybe my absolute favorite was our hometown superhero, Florida Man, painted in Florida flag colors, complete with a Florida cape. And yeah, maybe not every costume looks like it came out of a Hollywood production workshop. Some definitely looked more Spirit Halloween than Industrial Light and Magic. But honestly, that almost made the whole thing better. The range is part of the charm. It's not a perfection contest, it's a participation event. Now, as fun as the cosplay and people watching were, the celebrity area felt like the major center of the event. That part of MegaCon was packed. I'm talking wall-to-wall people. Not really the greatest place to be if you're not into big crowds. And even though I didn't pay for a photo op or an autograph this time, it was pretty surreal seeing so many famous faces in one place. We saw Alec Baldwin, Brendan Fraser, Mr. T, Diego Luna, Robert Patrick, Brent Spiner, Josh Holloway, Colin O'Donoghue, Dean Norris, and a few cast members from Stranger Things all there, along with plenty of others. The longest lines, at least when I was there, seemed to be for John Cena, Liv Tyler, and Orlando Bloom. Big crowds for those three. Now, one important note if you're visiting there, unless you're paying for one, photos of celebrities in this area are very much discouraged. And you will get yelled at pretty quickly if you try. So I was able to get video of the overall area and the crowds around here, but not much in the way of clean celebrity close-ups with my camera, because as soon as you try, you do get yelled at. Still, this area tells you a lot. If you needed proof this isn't just a little comic book swap meet anymore, look no further than the thousands of people lining up to spend serious time and money for a rare shot at meeting someone they've watched on screens for years. Some of the merch booths do get a little bit repetitive. It almost feels like they've kind of copy and pasted a few of the booths over and over again. There are, let's just say, enough Funko Pop sellers in the world already. If a global plastic shortage ever hits, I know exactly where it all went. Most of the vendors seem like small independent sellers, artists, and niche shops and artisans. There was a booth selling weird taxidermy and animals in jars, if that's your thing, no judgment. There were artists selling prints, comics, handmade pieces, and one thing I really liked was these little wooden frames of famous theme parks and rides. MegaCon is a place where people can find weird, hyper-specific things that feel like they were made directly for them. No fandom is too niche. That's the beauty of this place. There's a hyper-specific weirdo corner for every single one of us. Now, to be clear, MegaCon is not exactly a serene and peaceful experience. It's chaotic, busy, overwhelming, exhausting. You're going to put in a lot of steps in this place. This is the second largest convention center in the country. I was there on a Saturday, the peak crowd day, and there were definitely moments where the sheer crowd level hit me pretty hard, especially around the celebrity meet and greet areas where it felt almost like half of those 180,000 attendees were all here at the same time. The crowds are part of the deal though. You know what you're signing up for, you just have to roll with it. And if you slow down and give yourself time to soak it in, the event starts to make a lot more sense. That would honestly be my advice for anyone doing this for the first time. Don't rush it. Wander around, absorb it, look around, find a piece of merch or art that really speaks to you and just buy it. You may never find that thing again. Support an independent artist, go to a panel if you can, consider meeting a celebrity that matters to you because that kind of opportunity is rare. So even though I mostly stayed on the floor this time, MegaCon really is bigger than just the show floor itself. And maybe that's why MegaCon feels so right in Orlando. MegaCon took over Orlando because the culture it celebrates took over everything. This is a place where major theme parks celebrate Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Marvel. What used to be considered nerdy and geeky is now mainstream blockbuster entertainment. What used to be niche is now normal. What used to be socially coded as weird now fills a convention center with over 180,000 people. And what I think MegaCon really proves is that this kind of fandom isn't fringe anymore. And maybe most of all, it gives people permission to be seen. At MegaCon, nobody comes in costume to be ignored. They come to be part of the show. And for a few days in Orlando, that show is absolutely massive.